All right. Welcome to the live stream. We're going to be deploying some AI assistants to the cloud today. Let's get started here. Start by sharing my screen would help. Uh, one sec. All right, let's do this again. Let's share my screen. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so I'm pretty active on the Phidata Discord channel. So if you guys want to join that, I'll send the invite link in the chat description. But today, what I'm going to be going through is how to deploy this AI this these AI assistants. There's multiple here in AWS Lambda. So let's actually look at the AWS stack that we're going to be using for this. Okay, so at a high level, what we're doing is we're going to build 3 AWS Lambda functions, and it's going to it's it's going to run. It's basically a way to run like long-term AI assistants. And so what I mean by long-term is Amazon API Gateway has a 30-second timeout. Um, Regardless of like the type of API you use, so like a WebSocket or like an HTTP request. So you just have to like think. Um, there's a chance that like the AI assistant will go over the 30 seconds. So like one like scalable design technique is to use this initiator polar mechanism. And so what's going to happen is a user is going to send a uh, a request into the Amazon gateway, and then it's going to initiate a uh, a request to our AI assistant. And so what'll happen there is it's gonna abide by that 30-second timeout. So user sends request to this initiator. The initiator is going to kick off whatever AI assistant it could be. In this case, we're going to be doing a newsletter. Um, and then it's going to terminate. So we abide by the 30-second rule. And then within our front end, we're going to be using this polling technique. And on a cadence, every second or every like half second, 5 seconds, doesn't really matter. We're going to check DynamoDB to see if this thing is done running. Um, so let's get into it. Now, the AWS CDK stack that I'm going to be using, I've put it on uh, GitHub, and I'll share that link in the comments section. Okay, so here we go. Just the AWS AI API template. So I'm going to be using a stack that I've already built out, and we're just going to copy and paste from it. But I'm going to explain in detail what's going on. But we're gonna actually gonna start from scratch here. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and make a new repo. Call it All right, so let's call this AWS newsletter assistant. Deploy. That's to AWS. Make it public. Add a README. Cool. All right. So AWS CDK. What is that? So this is infrastructure as code. So basically, what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to make um, my Amazon resources um, using code. It's very easy to do once you kind of get a few examples under your belt, and then also it's easy to spin up and then tear down. So instead of like clicking in here and like changing a bunch of settings and like not remembering what you're doing, you can write it as code, and it's written down so you won't forget. Um, so I'm going to be using TypeScript today for the AWS CDK. So you'll need to make sure that you have Node installed. Um, I'm not going to install it. I already have it. And the way I know that is I can just type in npm and I can get, uh, yeah, it comes back with like information about the npm package. Cool. So let's let's go ahead and clone this repo. And we'll cd into it. Oop, not that. And then cdk init language TypeScript. Oh, fine. Newsletter stack. Newsletter infra cd. Just curious, what's in here? Oh, the README. Okay. Getting any comments? Cool. All right, and then I have this basic template that we're gonna work from. Cool. Okay. Um, there is so when you do the CDK init language, it's going to make a bunch of folders and files for you that are, um, yeah, most of them you're not going to need to change. So the one things there's like two places that you're gonna change and add stuff. So the main like tech stack that the CDK runs off of is in lib right here, this folder. Um, and so if we just click in here, you can see that we have yes, just some TypeScript code, JavaScript um, in here. This is what's actually going to make the stack in Amazon. AWS. So we're just going to copy from this template, and I'm going to explain what we're copying over. So let's go ahead and launch. Let's go ahead and launch this in VS Code. Okay, so similar setup, right? We have lib, and then we have some other like JSON files. Who knows what the hell that is? Um, okay, so here's our stack. And so we're gonna need to we're gonna need to import some stuff from the CDK library. So we're gonna copy in our imports here. Uh, yeah, so we're gonna need Lambda, we're gonna need API gateway, we're gonna need DynamoDB, IAM user. We're gonna need this HTTP request method. So this is how I'm gonna be interacting with the APIs. And then .env. .env is a way to load in environment variables. Okay, so yeah, so let's go ahead and load this in. So we want to load in our environment variables, and then we're going to, okay, this is a for loop that's basically setting the environment variable. Because we're going to need to pass some environment variables to our Lambda functions. Okay, no problem. All right, so this is just the first. This is just the first step in the process where we're going to be setting up the stack first, and then I'm going to be copying over the code from Phidata. Uh, process. Oh, let's see if anybody. Okay, sorry, just making sure that we don't have a question on Discord. Okay. Let's go back to this template. All right. Okay, so what did we copy over? Let's go to our stack. So we are making a table. We're going to make a DynamoDB table to store this at. So this is, why are my arrows so far off here? Let's go and bring that in. There we go. Okay. So we're making this DynamoDB table right now. DynamoDB is just a place to store NoSQL data. It stores it as a JSON object. And so this is what we're doing. We're making the table. And this is going to allow us to store our prompts and the responses. And it's going to also be able to track when a response is done. So once I ask the question, it could take anywhere from 7 to 30 seconds, depending on 40 seconds, maybe depending on how the AI assistant interprets the question, and then so let's just say like it's going to take some time, and so we're going to want to like track that in DynamoDB. Okay, and now what we're doing is we're setting up API gateway. Let's go ahead and change this to newsletter, so that way I can keep it right in my head when it's actually in the stack. Okay, newsletter, perfect. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy over a Lambda function. I don't think it really matters which one we do. So we'll do, okay, it does matter. All right, so the template that I'm copying from has two Lambda functions. The first one is a Zendesk. So I've tested this Zendesk assistant, the Phidata Zendesk assistant, and it's pretty reliable under 30 seconds. So what I'll do this in another video, but instead of using the initiator poller, you can simplify this to one Lambda function to a DynamoDB table, but it doesn't scale. So if you use that architecture, it like assumes that your Lambda functions finish within 30 seconds. This system scales well. So if a AWS Lambda function takes longer or shorter, you can just adjust how often you pull from. So we're just going to use the financial agent as a template here. Okay, so what did we do? We're giving a Lambda function. Um, this is something we're going to pull from. This is the file path we're going to pull from. But what we're doing is we're making a Lambda function. We're giving it access to the DynamoDB table, and we're setting a few environment variables that I haven't set up yet. We'll get to that. And then we'll call this newsletter agent. Yep, newsletter agent. And we're gonna make a file path called newsletter in a minute. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Okay, so where are we at? HTTP Lambda function. Okay, so we have this setup, we have this setup, and then we have this setup in what, like less than like 30, 40 lines of code. Okay, that's what makes the CDK so nice. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna create the initiator Lambda. Uh, yeah, we're gonna want to change that to newsletter. Cool. Okay, so now we made the initiator. We're gonna give it an HTTP route, and I'm gonna explain this now. Okay, so where we built an API route. This API route is the parent, or like this is what we interact with, and then it's actually gonna have children routes to it. So in this case, we added this variable called type, which is dynamic, and so it's either going to be, so when you go to this initiation, which is this Lambda function, it's going to be dynamic in that you can add more assistance to it. So right now, this type is going to be for the newsletter agent. Um, so we're going to initiate a newsletter. Okay, and okay, how do we know that? It's because, or like, like how does that work? So the initiator Lambda is going to do two things. It's going to activate the newsletter agent, and then it's also going to update records in the DB table saying, hey, we got a request. We're going to store that into DynamoDB with a unique identifier. And then we're also going to kick off a Lambda function, which is our newsletter agent. And this newsletter agent is the Phidata assistant. And so the way it's going to know how to kick it off is we're going to grant it access and we're going to give it a name. So we're literally taking this Lambda function and then we're adding and then so like the one that we just created, it has an attribute called function name, and we're going to pass that as an environment variable to the Lambda function, the initiator. Gosh, there's so many Lambdas. Um, okay, so let's rename this to that's fine. We can keep it. Let's keep it like that. Okay. So then status check. Okay. So this is the polar. This is the polar lambda function. This is what's going to do the status checking for us. So in our diagram, this polar is going to, so this is, so like we're going to set up logic on the front end that basically is saying, hey, go to this route, this lambda function every second, every 30 seconds, every 5 seconds. And it's just going to check to see if that unique process ID is done. And if it's done, it's going to return the result. Um, so status check doesn't need access to anything else besides the process table. Okay. Lambda invoke policy. Yes. Okay. Look, I could probably organize these in a little bit better way, but it works, and it's I'll leave it up to you guys to organize it how you think is best for you. Okay, we're getting an error here. Financial agent Lambda. We don't have that. We have the newsletter, so we're going to change that there. What this is saying is we're we're giving an identity policy, or basically permissioning the uh, let's see. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're giving access to the initiator to run the newsletter agent, which is this arrow right here. Okay, so now invoke policy, good initiator, good. Okay, initiator Lambda, it's an inline policy. This policy is going to do what? It's going to, oh, okay. We're assigning the policy. So these two chunks right here are giving access for the initiator to run to run the newsletter assistant. And see all this stuff. Okay. So DynamoDB table, we're gonna want it to give access to our Lambda functions. So we have 3 Lambda functions, and we should have 3 here. And then we also want to give the newsletter grant invoke the initiate. This might be redundant with this one, but that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I've wondered that. I wondered it. I'll probably test that later, but it works. So we'll just leave it as is. Okay. Grant invoke. All right. So now I'm just going to copy this chunk here. Okay. This last chunk I'm copying is basically providing the API routes to each Lambda. So status check here is just basically saying, hey, I have a I have a way, I have a route on my main API URL called status, and then I can pass in a process ID, which is going to allow us to interact, or it's going to allow us to check that process ID in the DynamoDB table. Then, okay, so we don't need this one. We will need this one. And this one is going to be our newsletter. Good. And we can take this one out. And we'll call this newsletter. And this will be newsletter 2. All right. So we just defined this entire stack right here in what, 100 lines of code roughly? 110. Cool. So let's save it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build the actual Lambda functions. So we're going to make a folder called Lambdas, and we're going to make another folder called Newsletter. Let's just make sure that path is defined here. Newsletter agent. Okay, rename. Oops. And now we're going to do initiator. And puller. 3 Lambda functions we need to make. Cool. Okay, so what's going to be in these Lambda functions? So Lambdas, so AWS Lambda is a serverless compute, which basically means you pay for what you use. So it's a cost-effective way of running your own code. Um, the nice part about Lambda is that for like for like developer purposes or learning purposes, like you can spin these computers up in the cloud. It'll run your code for you, and it'll only run when it's being called upon. So you're only paying for compute time. So it's just a cost effective way of running your code. And now it just happens, or like AWS set it up so that you can run Python code within these Lambda functions. So how do we do that? Okay. So we're gonna do two things. We're gonna run our Python code in a Docker file. So um, so we're gonna again we I've already written this code out for you guys. I'm just gonna walk through it. So let's go through the initiator. So initiator has 3 components to it. It has dependencies, the Docker file, which is going to be the thing running the code, and then a Python file. And so when you go to initiator, we're going to go and copy over requirements, txt. So it'll need Bodo3. And then Bodo3 is what that's going to be used for is, let's see, this is the initiator. So the initiator needs access to DynamoDB, needs access to the Lambda function. And so Bodo3 is the AWS Python package that allows us to interact with that. And then let's do Docker file here, file, Docker file. And then we're going to do new folder, source, main.py. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in this Python file. Um, Adding some logging, and I'm going to show you guys why logging is important and how I debug using CloudWatch and loggers. But pretty simple, like Bodo3 is giving us access to DynamoDB and Lambda. So here's where we're storing our messages and our stuff from the assistant. And then here is here's like the Lambda client that's going to allow us to run our our AI assistant. And so within this handler is a AWS Lambda construct. You just have to just recognize like you need this handler as a function in order for it to run. And then what we're doing here is we're saying given, um, let's see, function type. Yeah. So the function type is the so in this case it's the Lambda function we created. So what we're doing here is we're looking if function type equals research, then go ahead and run the research. So like the idea here is like when a user interacts with an agent, they're going to do it through an alias. Um, yeah, I'll show you. So the in this case, it's going to be the newsletter agent. So we're gonna change this to newsletter, and then this Lambda function is the name of the function, like I mentioned earlier, is here, the research agent function. So we can actually leave this the same. So we should probably change this guy to newsletter, but I think it might be okay. We'll see. Here's the initiator. Yeah, we're going to want to change that to newsletter, and I'll show you why later. It's because actually, I'll show you right now. It's because of this guy right here. This is the route we're going off of. Okay, so let's see. We have main.py. Need the Docker file. What's going on in the Docker file? We're basically just reusing a Docker image that AWS wrote for us that runs Python 3.11. We're copying our dependencies, installing dependencies, copying all the Python files into this file path task group, and yeah, and then running the handler function, which is this guy. Okay, and now we're just going to do the same exact thing for Polar. So let's go talk about Polar really quick. Polar's going to need Boto 3, so let's make our lives easier. Copy that over. Boto 3, good. Docker file does not change. The good news is, like, anytime now you want to run Python code, like, this Docker file is perfectly fine to run. All right, and so we do want to change main.py, and let's see how we're going to do that. Okay, so here's the logic for pulling. So when you hit this endpoint, you're going to have a process ID, because we're basically saying, hey, we initiated a conversation. We're checking up on that conversation through a process ID. This is going to be passed through the payload, the HTTP request payload. We're setting up a DynamoDB table, or we're basically, when we created the table, we're copying over the environment variable with the function with the table name, and then we are going to just simply query the DynamoDB table. And so let's see. Okay. So there's going to be some front end logic that handles this part right here. But essentially what we're going to do is, upon completion of a query, we're just going to return the results. So the whole job of the Polar is it's going to be checking the DynamoDB table until the status is complete, and then we're going to return the result. So let's copy this. There we go. All right. Now, last one. Oops. Okay. Now this is the fun part. Now we're going to use Phidata. Phidata is the open source package that allows you to run AI assistants using Python and function calling. It's super easy to use. One of my favorite packages for building AI assistants. We are going to use. We're actually going to clean up these requirements. Yeah, these requirements are going to be different. So, but that's okay. We'll change that later. And I'll show you where we're going to pull that from. Okay, Docker file. Doesn't change. Yep. And main.py. Cool. There's a lot here. So what does all this stuff mean? We have our Python dependencies, which we are going to change. We're going to make this to be the new Groq Llama 3 newsletter. DynamoDB table, yeah, we're going to need that. Okay, we're entering the handler. The handler is going to do what? It's going to first get the process ID from the initiator function. So the initiator is going to pass a process ID to it. The process ID is going to be used when we are done, when the assistant is done running its job. So this assistant is going to come up with a response. Right now, we're not going to do anything streaming or anything crazy. We're just going to get a response back from yeah. When we hit the API, we're just going to get a string response back. The process table will be updated once the analyst is done running. So all we need to do now is we are going to change this to our newsletter agent. Okay, so let's see if we go to the Discord channel. There is a tutorial by Ashpree on how to deploy Groq and Llama 3. So let's see if we got the code for this. Yep, perfect. Let's take a look. So we're going to need this Groq API key. Looks like he's got some dependencies in here. That's fine. And then he runs app.py. Cool. Okay. So here are the assistants. Let's just take a look at this. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So let's just copy this assistant first. We're going to change this to Llama 3. I think it probably has a drop down menu. Okay, there we go. Llama 3. Nice. Just hard code that in there. And okay. So we got the model. Yep. And then we need to change the length. Okay. Let's change this to 500 words. Keep it simple. Looks like we need to put that in debug mode. We are going to not include debug mode for now. All right, and cool. Looks like we need these dependencies. Don't need that. Nice. Okay. And I know that we're definitely going to need Groq here. We have Phidata. That's good. I don't think we need those. So we have Groq, Phidata. I want to say that's a native package, but we'll see. All right, and that one is the article summarizer. article summarizer. Okay, now let's add the article writer. Actually, do this. Format this a little bit better. There we go. Okay. We'll change that to writer. Let's kind of look at these prompts here. You'll be provided with text from a news article. You'll be provided with topic. Okay, interesting. Cool. This is my first time running it, so we'll see what errors we run into. Nice. So how are we passing? Article writer. Okay, so input to this is what? It's going to be from the summarizer. URL, blah, blah, blah. Pre-processed summaries. Cool. So how do... I'm guessing he's just... What's the input here? Okay, let's take a look at the app. Oh, geez, come on. Okay, so let's take a look here. So we're setting the assistant up right here, and then with st.container, summary container, forward news results in news result. News summary. Okay, we're appending data to it. Oh, is there an API call in here? There is. We're gonna have to set up another function for newspaper 4K. Nice. Okay, so we're using DuckDuckGo and newspaper 4K. I see. Okay, a little bit more work, but that's okay. And then let's make sure. Uh-oh, was I in the wrong one the whole time? Yes, I was. And let's change this to back to what we were doing with that. And this is the polar. I think so. We'll verify that at the end. Well, we'll get an error pretty much. Okay, so now what we're doing. Okay, so this is newsletter. Good. Okay, and then. Okay, fine. Looks like we're gonna need. Oopsie. Looks like we're gonna need some more packages. Let's go back to that template because it looks like some of those were actually in there already. Newspaper, and then DuckDuckGo. So I think DuckDuckGo looks like something like that. We'll verify. Yep. Okay, cool. Alrighty. And So what I'm looking for is where they're making the DuckDuckGo call, which it looks like right here. Nice. What's newsletter? If right newsletter. Okay, so this stuff right here is what we need. And because it's going to be news results, right? Okay. So let's copy this over. And we're going to want to put that in front of this assistant. We do want you to write an article. Hmm, Don't think we're going to need this. We're not going to need that. That's some Streamlit stuff. And oh, whoops, my indents are wrong. There we go. All right, news summary. Not sure if we're gonna need that yet. DD, that's the DuckDuckGo client. Okay, that's good. We're gonna want that. Okay, so it looks like this is gonna be based off of a topic, and topic is gonna be question here. Okay, so so within the AWS Lambda handler, what's happening is I'm gonna be passing a process ID to it, but I'm also gonna be giving it a prompt. So my prompt here, I just labeled as question. So we're going to copy question as our keyword, and then number of search results. Let's just hard code it for now. I think that'll work. Okay, so news, it's just writing as string. Okay, let's see. New results is a list. Okay, fine. Um, that's a container. Don't really care about that. If new results, what's that? What's the difference between that? That seems redundant. It's okay. Uh, yeah, okay. There's a chance that news results might not come back, and I'm trying to think why that would be the case. Should I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. Okay, newspaper tools. That's cool. If article data. Yep. So a list. Okay, so at some point we're gonna have to make this into a string. It looks like. So summarizer, what are you doing? You'll be provided with text. Okay, so we definitely want to adjust that. And let's do new line break on it. And it's going to be new news results. So I'm guessing if there is going to be a bug in here, it's going to be if there's not any news results. But man, I'd be really surprised if that were the case, because I mean you're running it through DuckDuckGo unless newspaper 4K couldn't parse it would be the issue. Okay, guess we'll see what happens. Let's actually do our so yeah. So what is that? News results text. There we go. Is that right? Our text for our and news results. Dot append R. Oh yeah, good call. Good call, Copilot. And then just log it. Just kind of curious to see, and we'll see this in the CloudWatch console what happens. And then this is the summarizer response. And I think we're going to pass it in here. Let's see. Cool. You'll be fine with topic and pre-processed summaries. Okay, so let's take a look back here and see what's going on. A topic and okay, so let's see, what's this? What's this? Get article writer. Article writer for Delta and article writer. Oh, interesting. Final report. So it's going to be running. So what we're doing. What's article draft? Article draft. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, interesting. Okay, so they're running the summarizer in a loop. Gotcha. So we're going to want to do that too. Okay, because we were just doing it. Okay. Let's see. I'm thinking to make this even simpler, let's just prove a point in that. So okay. So news results is we're getting a list of text, right? Yeah. And then, okay, next part. So once we get the news results back, for each result, we're going to do a summary. Cool. In order to do the summary, we're going to pass that to our article summarizer. So for each of the 10 articles that we get back, we're going to run it through the summarizer. So this is not going to work. That guy's not going to work yet. We're going to have to summarize all of these. So you could either, okay, so what this app is doing is it's collecting all the news results first, and then it's summarizing it. And I'm just thinking if that's fine. We can keep it with that. Okay, so now let's do the summarizing part. And then let's see if I can pause this. I wonder if you can pause it. Not yet. Okay. Bathroom break. Be right back. Okay, back at it. Okay. So where are we? We are creating the newsletter agent, and what we need to do is summarize all these articles, and to keep it. Actually, let's just do this. Mhm. Uh, yeah, we agree. Yeah, okay. Let's get the results first. Okay, so we have results. Yep, news results. So if length of news results, because we're appending, should append it at least. Our text would be my preference, but maybe we're using more than that later. Okay, and if news results. Okay, and then where was the code? Nope, not that one. Here we go. Okay, new summary. Do we have that yet? Nope. Okay, let's make that. Agreed. Let's make that one. And article summarizer, which is that dude right there. And for news results. Okay, so let's do this next. Oh, okay, so we are using more. So we have title, date, URL, body. What about text? Wasn't text one of them? Okay. Then we're going to make a summary. Oh, all the type hinting. That. Let me just make sure that's right. We're going to probably want to trim this down to 5 to test out. Summary. Okay, so we're in the loop, right? And if summary length is greater than the new summary length. What's that? Oh, hard-coded value. Okay, we're going to need that. Okay, fine. Truncate. Oh, it's truncating. Okay. Truncate text. What's that do? Cool. We can do that. Good old helper function. New summary length. Whatever we should set this to. Let's do the halfway point. Oops, 5,000. Okay, for news result. In news results. Yep. News summary. Yep. Summary length. Cool. We're getting there. Summary length. There we go. We're gonna want to do this now. If summary length is greater than, then we're gonna want to truncate it. add a little bit of truncate. Truncated summary. Oh, I see why they did that. Okay, that's fine. That looks good. Cool. All right. And that just looks like some Streamlit stuff, which I don't think we'll need. Summary.markdown. What's that? Oh, it must be a Streamlit thing. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. Trying to think about why would we need this. You split it, and then you just make sure that it's not. But it seems like we did that up there. Oh, you're just making sure the summary. Okay. It's gonna break out of the loop. That's good. Protection. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do that too. If length of new summary is too long, you can go ahead and break. Yeah, that's a good idea. If new summary is none, that's a problem. Agreed. Now let's create the draft. And I want to stick this in the ifs. Do we want to stick this in the if statement? Let's see. No, we don't. We want this outside. Topic. My guess is that topic is the question. Let's just make sure. Article topic. Where are we at? Yes, article topic. Yeah, it's just a question. Okay, cool. This is what we're going to be sending to our API. Good. And then what's going on here? Draft container, status update, still working. This looks like Streamlit stuff to me. We don't need that. We do need this, which we have right there. So let's take this stuff out. And final report. Looks like it's defined right there. Oh, because I'm missing that L. There we go. Final report, empty string. Final report container, don't need. For I in this. Gotcha. We're not going to do streaming. Okay. Do that. We'll keep it like that. Okay, so let's see. Article draft empty string, but we're going to append the topic, which is what the user asks, and then summary of news articles. The section provides a summary of the news articles about blank. News summary. Okay, just a string. String gets passed. Res. Okay, I think we have everything we need. So let's just go through it again. Logging, JSON, OS, da. We need that Groq key still. We don't need DuckDuckGo. Our homies at Phidata did that for us. Boto3, cool. Question and process table. That looks good. Truncate text. Okay. Summary. Okay. News results. If article. Okay, so article data. Yeah. What is this? If article data and text, then our text. Oh, cool. And news results that append are. All right. So this is a list. Cool. If length of news results is greater than 0, news summary. Okay, empty string, assistant. The assistant, is it taking anything? No. Okay. And for news results in news results. So let's take a look here. Yeah, just appending data to this guy. Cool. And then we're just checking to make sure that it all fits in there right here. Nice. Cool. This looks like it's going to work. New summary. All right, I think we're ready to go. We need some keys though. And how are we going to get those keys to it? So let's go into the CDK stack. We're going to want to change this to Groq. Model. Just curious, are we even using model in newsletter? I don't even think we need that. We're just hard coding it to Llama3. Technically, we don't need Zendesk, but yeah, we could take Zendesk out. And this is cool. I think we're ready to test. Oh, not quite. Groq. Groq API key. Initiator Lambda. Cool. I think we're ready to test this out. We need to add an env file. Ooh. All right, let's go get a Groq key. That's not it. Why is it so hard to get an API key for Groq? Grow. Weird. That's like bad indexing by Brave. Let's see if Chrome knows what it's doing. Groq platform. Nice. But where do you get the keys at? Let's see, Groq API. There we go. Console. It's console Groq, not platform. I'm an OpenAI degenerate, so that's why I messed that one up. Okay, Groq key, Groq. API key, is that what we called it? API key equal. There it is. Let's create a new one. Newsletter. Yeah, there we go. Delete that key after you're done. Reminder to myself. Cool. Newsletter. All right. I think we've got everything good to test. Oh, what happened to the initiator stuff? Okay, let's put that back in there. Yeah, let's just check the functions and make sure that we got everything. Not financial analyst. We want initiator. And initiator. Good. And requirements would be just Bodo 3. Yep, that should be good. Okay, initiator. Let's just make sure this is right. Newsletter. And good. So now let's update Polar. Easy. Process table, process ID, looks good. Newsletter infra stack. Yep. All right, just one more time. Sorry, just want to make sure this works before I even test it. Just giving it the eyeball test. So we have initiator. Yep, it's going to invoke the research agent, which is a newsletter, which is the newsletter Lambda function. And this is our AI assistant logic. Looks good. Cool. And last but not least, Polar. Nice. Let's see what bugs we ran into. Oh, you know what? Let's change that to newsletter too. We copied that and we didn't rename it. Newsletter. Nice. All right, let's test it out. So we are going to CD into, so let's see what's in here. Newsletter infra, CDK bootstrap. What does this do? Okay, so when you are ready to deploy to AWS, um, you'll want to wrap it, meaning you'll want to basically tie it. It basically ties together your AWS account and your CDK code. It also checks for bugs. It'll run your code, make sure you don't have any bugs in there. So let's see what happens. I'm sure we'll get something back. So yeah, the other thing is when you install the CDK, you may also want to install the AWS CLI. All right, we got an error. Okay, so we need to install the .env library. Simple, npm i.env. Let's try it again. Oh, make sure Docker's running. You need to have Docker running in order to run the CDK, because what it's going to do is it's going to build these Docker images and send them into Amazon ECR. So now what we're going to do is CDK. Some people believe that this is a best practice, CDK synth. So we'll run it. Cool, no errors. Good. CDK deploy. And all right, we are going to write, while this is deploying, we're going to write a test case here to help us test if this thing actually works. So I'm going to I'm going to do this in Python because uh, it was easier for me to write it in Python. Okay, so you can see it's building images and deploying. Solid. So we know we did something right. Okay, in the basic template, I've got a test file. We should be able to use this. Okay, so this is going to help us test our endpoint. I'll show you how. Topic is topic topic of the so like so it's assuming, so let's do what's interesting here. Llama, what's new? Let's do Facebook earnings. Facebook. Let's do Fang stock earnings. Fang stock earnings. Okay. Okay, this is gonna take a minute. Building some Docker images. And let's go ahead and push our code while we're waiting. .env, you're not supposed to be in there. So we'll add a get ignore. .env. Ooh, there we go. And let's see what we're pushing. Get ignore, npm, cdk package, readme. Yep, that looks good. Okay, cool. And then commit. And we'll sync those. And let's just verify that went through. And newsletter assistant, newsletter infra, boom, right there. Good. All right, so we're just waiting on this to deploy. We have our test ready. See if anything popping off on Discord. Advanced retrievers. Yeah, nice. That's gonna be fun to do. Yeah, yeah, that is definitely something we can do. So let's see. Sorry, is now to create Llama index agent and hook the agent. Amen. Yep. I think that would be pretty simple to do. We'll see. All right, where are we at? Come on. Just kind of curious to see how fast Groq is on there. Groq. Oh, geez. That's pretty good. Uh, geez, that's quick. Not bad. Mm. Yeah, not bad. Cool. Man, we've been going for an hour and a half. Nice. Whew, almost there. Slowest part is these Docker images. and then we'll just verify that all this stuff gets made in AWS. And then if you guys are curious how much this stuff cost me, nothing. It's a very, very cheap architecture. Part of that is maybe nobody uses these endpoints as much as I think they are, but it doesn't cost me any money to sit there, which is good. And so when this is done setting up, we're going to run this Python script. So what's this Python script doing? It's going to create it's going to talk to initiate Lambda function. It's going to say, hey, kick off a process. This process is going to have an ID with it. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to iteratively check that when this process is going to be done running. Um, yep. And that's it. You can adopt this to a front end code too. So I have like a chatbot that does this on the front end using TypeScript and Next.js, which will be a future video. Yeah. So okay. So what happened here? So the Amazon CDK built this thing called CloudFormation. CloudFormation is AWS's infrastructure as code at its lowest level. So it's like a bunch of YAML files that are like super hard to deal with. That's why they wrote the CDK stack, because the CDK stack is like super nice to like spin your infrastructure up without having to write CloudWatch. And so this is all CloudWatch stuff, or sorry, not CloudWatch, CloudFormation. CloudWatch is the logging. Okay, so now what we're doing, yeah, so we want to deploy these changes, and we're almost there. And then yeah, we're pretty close to the end now. There we go. Okay, so the output of the CDK stack is this HTTP URL. We're just going to copy that and let's test this. Boom, control save. Then we're gonna run Python test.py. Let's get it. Initiation pass, process ID. Boom. Process status. We're waiting for it to, okay, what's happening here? We're waiting for the Lambda function to start. So anytime you first time deploying Lambda, there's this thing as a cold start. It's a time to getting warmed up. Um, so that's what we're experiencing right here. If it goes on too much longer, there might be a bug, which we might need to go look at. And I'm getting a feeling that there's a bug going on. So let's go and figure out what that is. Newsletter. Usually shouldn't take this many pendings. Cool. Yeah, I think I know what happened. All right, so let's go through the steps and debug what happened. So first thing I'm going to do is we were able to access the API endpoint, which tells us there's not really an issue with there's not an issue with the API gateway. So the next thing in our stack, we'll look at it in this Lucid chart. We're able to access the initiation endpoint. So we came here and we were able to get to here. Now the issue is when we're pulling it, it's not updating. So there's got to be an issue with this our Lambda function, I think, because this should say processing. Okay, so there might be an issue with this AI assistant over here. So we're going to first go look at the initiator function. So I'm just going to hop into Lambda and sort by last mod 3 minutes ago. And so this one is the initiator. Uh, and I don't think that we're going to see any issues with this. So let's go to monitor. Oh, we got an error in there, it looked like. So let's go take a look at the CloudWatch. I think everything, I don't see any errors in here. Log, okay. Newsletter, financial agent, long running function name. Okay, now let's go take a look at DynamoDB to see if it got built in there. Oops. Okay. Oh, weird. Okay, so this is good. Okay, so here's what we do know. We know that when we send a request in, the initiator kicked off this Lambda, and it also was able to put the entry into DynamoDB. Then we have the Python script that is polling, so it's running this Lambda function, and it's getting pending, pending, pending. This guy should have hit processing. So now we're going to go look at this AI assistant, which is just the newsletter guy right here. Monitor, view CloudWatch. Let's take a look. Nice, good old error. Unable to import module main. Newspaper 4K not installed. Pip install. Good error. Love that. Now we know what to fix. So we're gonna go to, man, I could have sworn we had that in there. Did we not? Newspaper 4K. Who put 3K in there? Newspaper 4K. Geez, rookie mistake. Boom. I should do it. So now we're gonna make this change. And we're gonna hit CDK deploy. And we're gonna try it again. Anything else it hit? Nope. Just got stuck on that one. Which means And now that should work. Usually I like to test this Python in like a notebook before I throw it in the Lambda function. That's probably best practice, but it's okay. It shows how to debug these situations using CloudWatch and DynamoDB. So we just went through that whole stack. We just debugged that whole stack, which was nice. So this thing builds in layers, so it's actually not going to take nearly as long as it did last time. The first time always takes the longest because it's the initial setup. This is building an image from only the requirements part. Um, yeah, so it's going to be much faster. Still took quite a bit, 90 seconds roughly still. Looks like we're going to be plugging Llama Index, LangChain into Phidata, which will be cool. They've got Llama Index has some really good retriever mechanisms. All right, almost there, almost there, almost there. Come on. Why does it take so long? Jeez. Almost there. Come on, finish. Go ahead and push this. because I'm confident it's gonna work. The homie's liking it. That's good. Hopefully it helps somebody. Boy, this image is taking a while. Clean up some of these tabs. Hey, let's go. Come on. Going for what, 2 hours? Yeah, 2 hours roughly. Ooh, man, this might have taken longer than the first time. One thing that makes this faster is you can run pip install our requirements, or what you can do is you can pip install this. You can pip install requirements into like a virtual environment on your local machine, and then you can pip freeze, and then you pip freeze this. Then you can then so like kind of like what was going on here is it's trying to determine all the compatibility between these requirements because I didn't give them any versions. So what you could do is you can pip install this into a virtual environment and then pip freeze, and then it's going to freeze those dependencies, and it tells the Docker image exactly what dependency works. That way you don't have to wait for pip to figure it out for you. And I think that was the longest part of the process, 400 seconds. Boy, yeah, that was long. Also, check out, you can also message us on Phidata Discord channel. I'm active on that. All right, come on now. Man, my machine is slow. I wonder if how much. Why is it so slow today? Oh yeah, it's real slow. Docker, man, Docker. Mm-hmm. This thing is cruising. Finally, jeez, that took forever. Hopefully we don't get another requirements issue. Cloud formation. That's what the CDK translates to. Finally, that took forever. All right, let's try it again. So theoretically, we shouldn't have to change this endpoint. Nope, that looks good. Let's run it. Oh, not that. That. Python. Test. Let's see. Oh, come on. Hit processing. Cold start. Failed. Nice. Let's see what we ran into. Different error, which is good. Yes. Agent function. So then we're going to go to monitor, CloudWatch. This is why you probably want to test this Python code out in like a notebook before you just push it straight into AWS. I'm sure we're getting some error in here. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, initiator. No, we don't want initiator. We want newsletter agent. Man, really slow. I might have to kill Docker. Close window. Close window. Quit. Okay, let's see. My goodness. Super slow today. 8:52. Okay, so This is our latest logs. See what happened. And that all looks pretty normal. Kind of wondering if what happened. Found env. Yep, loaded env. That's great. DynamoDB. DynamoDB. Loading table. DuckDuckGo. We made a DuckDuckGo search. Whoa, weird. I think it ran. Let's see what happened in DynamoDB. Ah, man, great error. We should probably propagate that to the logger though. New summary. Okay, cool. So let's take a look. Not that one. What's this? Not that one. We want this one. News summary. Let's take a look. Ah, come on. Where was that at? News summary. Oh, we didn't get any results. Why? So that's interesting. So my guess what happened was is we didn't get anything back for the results, and I am just surprised by that. So let's put a logger in here. Okay. Let's see what that's gonna do. Man, I was just so surprised that it didn't come back with anything. So let's deploy that again. Oh, can't deploy it. Okay, we're gonna run into an error. The error is Docker's not running. Gotta run Docker. Docker. There we go. Pop up, good. Close that. CDK deploy. Good news is it's a DuckDuckGo error. So we set up everything correctly with Phidata. Set up everything correctly with Amazon, Boto3, but we're not getting news summary, which is unfortunate. Because that's like a pretty straightforward news keywords, unless we're not getting Question. Oh, weird. Oh, that's dumb. Shouldn't have put that in there. Yeah, we should. Let's take that out, actually. Where's it at? Where's that? Where's that question? Right there. I was propagating the process ID into the question. No need to do that. Okay, here we go. We got it. All right, let's test it out now. Oh, let's redeploy it too, because I made one more change to it. And let's push our code. Up, dang it. Update, commit, sync changes. Okay, let's see. I think I'm feeling good about this run. But man, I was really happy with that Groq speed test. That was cool with Llama 3. Cool. All right, let's try it again. And so really what we're testing for now is DuckDuckGo's ability to search for a topic. Cold start, cold start, cold start. Processing, hopefully. Hey, money. And boom. There you go. Thing stocks. Bang. Got your response back. Took 40 seconds. So there you go. Deployed. All right. Thanks for watching.